The right hand of the Supreme Commander, Hysilens, arrives reviving a team comp that has not seen much play since the release of Black Swan, that being the Dot team. In today's video, we're going to go over her playstyle, the best relics, ornaments, Lightcones, and best team comps in order to bring out her full potential. Let's go! So how exactly does Hysilens bring back the Dot team to relevance to compete against teams with the likes of Finon and Castrovis? Well, she provides two massive aspects to the Dot team that have been missing, that being passive consistency and defense reduction. With her skill, Hysilens increases enemy damage taken by 20% with her attack, being able to hit all enemies on the field. For her ultimate, Hysilens uses her domain expansion, applying a zone to the entire field. Within this field, all enemies' attack and defense related stats will be reduced by 25%, and Hysilens deals physical damage to all enemies. Additionally, when an enemy target within the zone takes damage from any form of Dot, Hysilens will deal 80% of her attack and physical damage to the enemy. Though the Dot cannot repeatedly trigger the additional Hysilens damage, with this effect only being triggerable 8 times. But the ultimate benefits more from her traces. When you enter battle, Hysilens will put up her field with the same effect as her ultimate, lasting for 3 turns, and whenever Hysilens creates the zone, even from her ultimate, she will recover 1 skill point. To emphasize how good her ultimate is, the second trace states that when the ultimate is used, even if the enemy target already has Dot debuffs, those Dot effects will immediately trigger, dealing damage equal to 150% of their original damage. But I know what you must be thinking. Okay, so this does help with the consistent Dot application, but can she really help her teammates, much like a Harmony character? The answer to this is yes. Hysilens, while being a Nihility character, does have a talent that acts in a Harmony manner. Whenever a teammate attacks an enemy, regardless if they're Nihility or not, Hysilens has a 100% chance to inflict one of the following Dot debuffs: Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, or Shock on the enemy, prioritizing different states. And each group of debuffs adds a different effect. For Wind Shear, Burn, and Shock, the enemy takes corresponding damage equal to 25% of Hysilens' attack. For the Bleed state, the enemy takes physical Dot equal to 20% of her max HP up to 25% of Hysilens' attack. Now, while I do wait before I talk about teammates, for Hysilens, it is extremely important to talk about Kafka and the synergy between the two. Something that the buffed Kafka is going to excel at is that if your Nihility character has an effective hit rate of 75% or higher, then Kafka will increase their attack percent by 100. The final trace for Hysilens states that if she has an effective hit rate above 60%, then her damage increases by 15% up to 90%, and it increases by 10% everything that exceeds that 60% threshold. But Hysilens scales from her attack percentage, so the fact that Kafka further boosts Hysilens' attack is perfect, not only for her trace, but to further increase damage done by the Dot debuffs applied to the enemies. So, for the relics and ornaments, we want to focus on a few different stats, those being speed, attack percentage, and effective hit rate. When it comes to the effective hit rate, you want to make sure that you hit at least 75% so that Hysilens benefits from the Kafka buff. When it comes to the other two stats, ideally you get the best possible rolls on each relic so that those two stats are sky high. Having said that, which sets actually are ideal and benefit Hysilens the most? Unlike Kafka, where I said a mix and match group of 2 pieces for speed and attack being the best, for Hysilens, we actually have a particular set, that being the Prisoner set. As at 4 pieces, you will ignore 6% of the enemy's defense for every stack of DOT on the enemy up to 3 times. With the rated consistency that the Dot team will apply debuffs onto the enemy, you will constantly have the max amount applied. Otherwise, if you are unable to get good rolls on this set, other sets you could run are going to be the Windsoaring set, the Hero set, or the Sacerdo set. All are great as they benefit either attack or speed bonus at 2 pieces until you get good rolls on the Prisoner set. For the ornaments, the best in slot is going to be the new Revelry set. as it not only increases attack by 12%, but once you get higher than 2400 or 3600, the dot damage dealt will increase by 12% or 24% respectively. A good replacement if you don't have good rolls would be either the Space Stealing Station, as it grants the same attack bonus but can increase by a further 12%, or sets like Firmament or Izumo for the 12% attack increase that benefits Hysilens dramatically. For the Lightcones, it is pretty easy to say her SIG is best in slot, but the SIG provides a lot. While for the most part, Hysilens doesn't really care much about the effective hit rate, as once she does reach that 75% threshold with the Relics to benefit from Kafka's bonus, it comes with a debuff applied to the enemy. You have an 80% chance to inflict a new debuff called Enthrallment. While under Enthrallment, each debuff applied to the wearer increases the target's DOT taken by 5% up to 10%, stacking 6 times. And when an ally attacks the target with the Enthrallment, the wearer of the Lightcone has their speed increased by 10% up to 20% for 3 turns. So you can see this Lightcone is busted and can be used on most Nihility characters, so it falls into that quote-unquote must-pull section. Another SIG option that works pretty good with Hysilens would be Black Swan Signature, as it applies a buff called Profit on the wearer when they deal damage to an enemy inflicted with Wind Shear, Burn, Shock, or Bleed, which are all debuffs that Hysilen herself can inflict. Each stack of Profit will increase the wearer's attack by 5% up to 9% and enable dot damage dealt to increase by 7.2% or 10% of the target's defense. So honestly, an argument can be made that Black Swan Signature is on par, if not better, than Hysilen's Signature. Some 4-star options would include the Holiday, Showtime, or Good Night, as these are all benefits to Hysilens as they provide either attack boosting or ignoring the enemy's defense. Now for team building options, Kafka is really the best in slot option for Hysilens, as I mentioned before, so I won't really get much into the benefits that Kafka does provide for her. A third option for the team though would be Black Swan, as whenever an enemy receives any form of DOT, Black Swan will place a stack of Arcana on them, which will deal damage on the enemy on top of whatever damage they receive from DOT they currently have. And with a team core of around Kafka, Hysilens, and Black Swan, constant damage from both DOT and Arcana will occur, allowing for fast, consistent damage. With a core of these 3, you would need a sustain character, and the best option for it would be Huohua, because she does provide attack boost with her ultimate and AoE healing, but additionally, upon activation with her ultimate, not only with the attack bonus she provides, she will also recharge 20% of their max energy, which allows for more zone time with Hysilens and consistent DOT activation with Kafka's ultimate. Unfortunately, if you don't have Kafka, Hysilens' max potential doesn't really shine through, but you can use some other 4-star options that apply DOT, since that is what Hysilens is all about. Another sustained preservation option instead of Fuoho could be Aventurine, with the trend on the universal market Lightcone, as whenever he would be hit while wearing this, he will have a chance to inflict a burn onto the enemy, so another debuff. Ultimately, in general, Hysilens is great Nihility character with the capacity to revive and bring back the DOT meta back to the forefront. The downside though is that she desperately needs Kafka to fully complete that job she was tasked to do. So summoning really depends if you currently have Kafka or plan on pulling for her as well in phase 1 to fully bring the DOT team back from the grave. Saying that though is one thing. It very well could be another thing if Hoyo do what they did last time when they brought Black Swan to support the DOT team and then leave it for multiple patches until it becomes useless and falls to the wayside. So I'll give Hysilens a score of 5 on the pull meter. Pull her if you have Kafka and enjoy the DOT team. Otherwise, you need to make that choice if you want to fully build the core of the DOT team in one patch, which could be very expensive.